The former head of state, Edgar Chagalungu, is in the news again. He's been off the grid ever since it was reported that he had been taken to a hospital for his medical checkup, which has taken now should be clocking almost a month. But the news back home is still centered around him. So the daily liberations say Lungu is not eligible among according to Mumbi there, do not including among those above 60 who must retire from politics. So if you remember, there was a conversation to say the former head of state should be enjoying his retirement and not participate in active politics. But the person that was very instrumental in getting him back into active politics is Mumbi Piri. If you remember, during his appearances in one of those court cases where he was escorting his wife, where she was shouting to say it's just high time for him to get back into politics because the way he was dancing in the courtrooms was equivalent to someone who had not even served, like his immunity is not serving its purpose because the fact that his wife is in constant court cases, it simply applies at the fact that he also accompanies her, he himself is appearing in those court cases. So she says this conversation of him retiring after 60 does not apply to Edgar Chagolungu because they have no plans of making him leave active politics. And he put up this statement 19 hours ago. He says, let us avoid political malice and contemptuous propaganda. How can I plot against a president I willingly and peacefully handed over power to? As a Christian, a patriot, and a nationalist, I am never associated with bloodshed or war anywhere. Let peace and love rule. So Edgar Chagolungu was simply responding to the allegations to say he was plotting against the sitting president, Hakainde Hichilema, and to which he simply responded to say, it makes no sense. The fact that I handed over power when I had the instruments of power to my side, if he had the intentions of going against the constitution, that was the appropriate time for him to make such a move, not when he's lost power and then starts undermining the state in the background. So that's a statement that came from the former head of state on this particular page. And then Chadi responded to him. He says, correction, not willingly handed over power. It is lawful handover. It was a lawful handover. It was a lawful duty and a constitutional obligation. Throw away your social media team. Get well soon. So he simply says, it is not that he willingly handed over power. It was expected of him. But that argument can be counterjected with a different argument to say, yes, if going against the state at this point is going against the constitution, don't you think it would have been more appropriate for him to go against that at a time when he had the instruments of power? That's the argument Edgar Lungu and his team are putting across to say, if they wanted to abrogate the constitution, they would have done it when they had the power, not when they are out of power, according to. So I'll show you different articles. That's the kind of debate. People are saying, no, it's not that he willingly handed over power. It was expected of him. And that's the news there, as you can see in the news diggers. I have no plan to harm Hakainde Hichilema. I handed over power to him peacefully, willingly. Lungu there is quoted again. That's pretty much the conversation in the nation. That statement that came from the former head of state, to which Mashaka Yakashamba, this is the UPND supporter based in the US, the Zambian, and he put up this: if President Hakainde Hichilema loses in 2026, he would not be doing Zambians a favor by handing over power to the person who wins. The constitution requires it. It is not his choice. So for Edgar Chagolungu, it wasn't his choice. He was required to hand over power. So that's the argument that is coming from the UPND that said, no, Edgar Lungu did not do anyone favors here. It was expected of him. So you can see that conversation going on. And then he goes further. This is still Mashaka Akashikamba. He says, this idea of some politicians that have, this idea that some politicians have that following the law is doing their job and is like doing a favor to the citizens is ridiculous. Yeah, I guess there. And then the other team also, this is the Smart Eagles, they put up an article of Edgar Chagalungu. They say, Edgar Chagalungu was misunderstood when he said he cannot plot against the president when he willingly handed over power, says So simply saying, he meant to say if he had the instruments of power at a time, and it was more advantageous for him to go against the constitution because he had pretty much all the security wings on his side. Why would you want to do that when he has left office? That's the argument they put up across there. So smart because pretty much this debate is dominating the nation's conversation. To say, I mean, was it a favor? And then the other team asked, no, they meant the other statement there. So, and then 2026 is a done deal. President Hichilema has it in the bag. That's Cornelius Monitor. He simply says the 2026 elections are just a formality. The UPND and the candidate Hakainde Hichilema have already won it. That's according to the chief government spokesperson there, Cornelius Monitor. Obviously, the opposition responded. I am quite certain that, in fact, 80% are sure that Hakainde Hichilema and his UPND can be soundly defeated in 2026 if we were to put forward one unified candidate backed by a solid and honest policy framework. Mohabi Lungu there. So you can see those arguments. Cornelius Monitor says the UPND have already won the 2026 elections because Hakainde Hichilema is a very popular candidate. It's already in the bag. The opposition say, on the other hand, if they put up across a united candidate or one candidate as opposition, is 80% sure Hakainde Hichilema will be defeated. So that's a conversation. The elections are around the corner. So you expect these statistics based off personal opinions and not grounded in any statistical fact being thrown out there. Because, politics at the end of the day is very influenced by emotion. So you can see some emotion from both sides there. And then Emmanuel Mwamba says the trial ceremony was going well until we brought party regalia and endorsements. So just they ended the trial ceremony or some endorsements. That's where even Changala endorsed President Hakainde Hichilema to say he was the candidate that the PF was given. The PF rebutted to say Changala has no following, he's just endorsing Hakainde Hichilema in his own personal capacity, not as a representative of the Patriotic Front. And it goes further, this is still Emmanuel Mwamba. If endorsements work, he would have won Petauke by-elections where he garnered the largest endorsement. So he says if these endorsements that the UPND is getting from some sections of the members of parliament worked, they would have won the Petauke by-elections because in reality, at the end of the day, people make their own decision on how they want to go on. Obviously, news about I cannot plot against President willingly handed over power. Pretty much the article making rounds on online in the nation's conversation there. And then Chavinga Lubusha blasted, as Mao Sampa says, until all court matters involving the Patriotic Front are disposed of, he remains president of the former ruling party and warns Chavinga against committing contempt with impunity. So Mao Sampa is also claiming to say he is the legitimate Patriotic Front president until the fights in court are done. And then obviously let love peacefully, rule, that's Edgar Chagwa there, according to the Daily Nation. Mass newspaper, it's a hoax. Changala describes a United Party for National Development regime over House walkout. Do you remember that walkout that happened where members of the UPND in Parliament walked out of the debate of cost of living? That's what he's commenting on. And that's the news, ladies and gentlemen. Have a beautiful day.